Alright everybody, we are back here at Bud Pell, throwing the blues. It is myself, that is BJ right there, Brian Jacobs, and Dylan Slate. You guys are in for a treat on this one. Both Brian, I'm just going to say both BJ and Dylan have phenomenal forehands here. Hole one here, just to the right, you guys know where it's at. It's kind of weird that BJ threw backhand. He threw a warrant, I believe there. It's an understable mid-range, and both Dylan and I flicked it, which is kind of weird, actually, now that I think about it, because BJ is a predominantly forehand player. Dylan flicked a triple X, I believe, and then I flicked my 2020 Firebird. You will also notice that BJ, that is a Mega Soft Harp, I believe, is the putters that he uses. And he putts upside down, so flight plate is facing downward. Yeah, it's pretty weird. Dylan putts with Pure White Wizards. He gave it a nice little bid there, had to straddle out, so we're all going to drop in some pars on hole one. Moving on to hole two here, see BJ's big old flex forehand here. He flicks all really overstable plastic on huge aneys like that. Dylan just absolutely smashes on his forehand always. That's a XXL Destroyer, really overstable Destroyer. BJ threw a Sparkle Defender, one of his go-tos right there. He loves throwing his Defenders. And then here I'm throwing a Metal Flake FD. Really naming the game on this one. It's a par 4, so you just want to get up to where you got a pretty decent approach shot. BJ is throwing a Warhorse here, a very overstable distance driver from Westside Discs. So I'm throwing my Razor Claw here uphill, and for some reason I have a really bad problem with this upshot. I usually shank it into those trees. I know you just got to throw it straight out towards the apple tree, just like this. You just throw it straight at the apple tree, throw something stable, and then it hyzer in. I believe that was a suspect that BJ just threw right there. And then Dylan's drive, this is an absolute smash from the blue pad. This is a huge drive from the blue pad. He's throwing another wizard here. This is a really old wizard. He has beat up for a long time. This is where my my upshot shank landed here. Oh, good bid. I put on a little downhill there. So he was right at circle's edge. Dylan with a good 3 there. BJ dropping in a good 3 there. Yep, that was upside down. So Dylan throws this crazy thumber route right here. He goes way over the top and then just plays Plinko. And kind of hard to see, but he drops in behind the basket on the left over there. BJ, he is throwing a stiletto, and he's actually throwing a tomahawk, so it's going to end up flipping the opposite direction. And flares and skips right behind the basket. That would have been such a sick-looking ace. Throw my star rat here. Nice little Annie. Just throw it right into the ground. And nice little
kick.
drop-in deuce on hole 3 there. So Dylan had a really tough window here. He went right through the trees, somehow hit the cage and the chains, and it didn't stay in. Both BJ and I had drop-in birdies. Out in the open now, BJ's throwing a Warhorse, I believe that's what that one is. So this is what he likes to do. This is where he gets the most distance. He hammers over really hard on a really overstable disc. So you're going to get a treat here. This is a Nuke OS. Just absolutely smashes on it. That is a Nuke OS, everyone. Getting a big old flex like that. Dylan's forehand is definitely fun to watch. So here I am throwing my 3-line Destroyer. Throwing on a nice hyzer line straight over the OB. Never had a chance.
Nice.
Upshot's pretty difficult for a forehand. You want to kind of penetrate straight. So he's trying to get big flex on it, and he actually puts a really good move on that one. Gets it pretty close. I'm throwing my Metal Flake FD again. And I just didn't turn over enough. I needed another degree of turnover on that one, and it would have been pretty good. Dylan's flexing on us and throwing a Mako 3 here. Discing down to a mid-range. I like it because it comes down into the green a lot slower, and this is a very, very slopey green. your shot can get away from you pretty quick here. So BJ's throwing a new disc. That's the Trilogy Challenge. I'm done. That's a bounty. Trilogy Challenge bounty. New disc from them. It's a good putt from Dylan. It's a good connection for a 3. So I actually ended up down in the trees down there, and I just pitched straight out, and then I go ahead and miss my putt. So I had a pretty textbook drive, and I have a drop in 5. Hole 5 here. We got the island hole. Really, really fun hole. I love this hole from any tee pad, really. Dylan throws a perfect hyzer shot with a Buzz OS. BJ is getting all weird and throwing overhand, and he almost skips it in again. He almost gets that bounce straight in the air and skips one in again. Here I am with my Razor Claw again, and I was about 20 feet off my line. I'm asking for it to get down, and we saw it skip right there at the very end. I actually stayed in somehow. Man, this is a nice looking putt here. Bud Pell always films so well. Let's just go ahead and keep on looking at how back in the distance, the landscape and whatnot. Let's ignore my putt. BJ and Dylan, more tap-ins. Hole 6, the pond hole. You just gotta toss pretty much the same line almost. I kind of throw the same shot that I just threw. I just obviously can't throw it as high. Dylan threw, I believe that's a 2016 Firebird, 2017 or 2016. I believe this is a prototype of Vandal that BJ's throwing here. BJ doesn't have the strongest backhand. He's been working on it a lot. I've seen it improve recently, and it is a lot that disc. He throws that disc really well now, backhand. I'm going with my Iron Samurai MD3, and I just throw it straight into the air. And somehow got lucky to get up and get through to have a putt. So this is I think this is a tough type of putt for BJ. The little uphill one, but he hits it perfect. Like I said, mega soft harp, upside down, and it just falls out of the sky. Here I am for my 2 putt, probably about 20 feet away. And yeah, I forgot to throw it. I wanted to prove it.
Yeah,
See,
that first.
I can make it. Just wanted to let you guys know I can make those. Dylan's bringing the sock and hair game and the putting game apparently. Dylan gets another 2 here. So this is one of my favorite holes on the course. Pretty heavily wooded. Nice flick line. Dylan threw his triple X, absolutely parked it. BJ with his Warhorse again. And he got over on it a little bit and pretty lucky to hit that tree and fall straight back. There's OB fence left that comes into play quite often if you hit anything. I'm throwing my Lone Howl PD here, asking for a skip, and it hit the only tree, the very last tree. This is an Anvil, super overstable mid-range, I believe, from Westside Discs. So this was, I hit that tree that I'm standing up against, and that's the only thing to miss that kept me from being park.
From Circle 2's edge.
Gave it a bid, pretty far
To buy
out,
the basket.
probably 60, 70 out. Gave it a decent run. Good little putt there, good 2. Me and BJ dropping in 3s, Dylan getting his 2 like usual. So this hole's really hard to film. I chose to film the basket instead of filming the run up. Dylan, I believe, yep, that's a purple Wraith right there. He likes to throw Wraiths a lot. Absolutely parked it. A great shot. Here is BJ. He likes, so there's a big holly bush right in the middle there that you can go around with a flex forehand. I don't know exactly if he was trying to. Regardless, I mean, he's throwing that defender again, so no matter what, it's going to end up coming out of whatever line he throws it on. Throw my 3-line AJ Destroyer, just hard and flat on the hyzer. Got a huge flare skip, and it curled up right in front of the basket.
Ground.
Got a nice little drop in too. BJ's got a nice, probably 35-foot downhill run here. And he cages it. It was a great run. I thought for sure that he made it standing behind him. So Dylan throws a thumber on this hole. It's just a elevated basket over on the right down the gap here. Got a little lazy on it, honestly, and he let it hit the ceiling. BJ threw a stiletto there, just a wickedly overstable disc. I'm going with my 2020 Firebird. I made it through the gap, which is, 90% of the battle. Dylan's pitching up for a par here.
He's closer than I will be after this.
So BJ's throwing a swan here, actually.
Oh, gosh.
And he didn't like it. It hooked on his finger, he said. He didn't like it right out of his hand. This is where my drive ended up. This is long, way long of the basket. This is to the right of the basket, looking at it from the tee pad. I gave it a run. I loved it right out of my hand. I thought it was great. We're getting a POV here from Dylan. That's what a good spin putt looks like. And the POV right there. BJ to clean up a 3.
Buckets.
Hole 10 here. This is a tough one. It's just straight in front of you, but it's downhill. There's a lot of stuff in your way. The whole entire green slopes down away from it. And Dylan threw the most stable Nova on the planet right there. BJ's throwing a tomahawk with an actual stable disc. Stiletto again. So I'm throwing my rat once again. And right before I threw it, I was like, man, it would suck to hit that tree. And I hit that tree. And then I went and grabbed my phone, which I do all my recording on. I do it all with my phone. I grabbed it from Dylan, and I was like, you know what? You can just hang on to this for a minute. And then I throw another shank job. So basically, I just played this entire hole, and Dylan just held on to my phone, recording me just sucking the entire time. So nice little pitch up. Tried to match the grade of the hill that the green is on there. BJ doing the same thing. I believe that's a swan.
Below.
I know he throws a putts with harps, and I think his distance ones are with a swan. Dylan's giving this a great bid. I thought for sure that he made it. He's pretty fortunate to stay there, right where he's at, honestly, within about 10 or 15 feet. This is the slopiest, rollest, awayest green that we have in Kitsap County. We're all just tapping in there. I tapped in a 4. They tapped in a couple 3s. Hole 11, par 5. This is a very tricky hole.
Yeah.
Dylan got a great skip there. Skip and tree kick. Throwing that destroyer again. Here's that warhorse again from BJ. So, yeah, this is a par 5, and it probably has the highest average relative to par. And I can't really figure out what to do on this hole, so I'm throwing my D-line MD. I'm just trying to get up in the middle. And completely missed my line, and I kick left, which is, you can just see. The only thing I had was I threw it about 15 feet directly up in the air, and it came right back down right here. So I'm flicking my PD, just trying to get up in the middle there. Hit a pretty tight gap, and I didn't get the skip that I wanted, but I'm up there, so not too upset there. Here's Dylan. He's throwing a Roadrunner. He's trying to throw a roller. He's going aggressive here. It looks like that it's a super tight line, but pretty much once you get past the little twiggy stuff right there, it opens up quite a bit. BJ got influenced, I guess, and I don't know what he did there. I guess that's a roller. So I got influenced as well. Been working on my forehand roller game a lot, and threw it, and it flipped like instantly out of my hand, and went directly over into the woods, right where I didn't want it to. BJ's third shot here is throwing a big old flex with a stiletto, and he pretty much did exactly what he wanted. He just wanted to make up a bunch of ground. That's where Dylan's roller-ish thing ended up, and pretty good positioning, honestly. It's pretty ideal, and he threw his wizard and just hung it out a little too far wide. Kicked him back into no man's land back here. Gave it a good bid for the 4. He'll be tapping in his 5. I don't know what stroke this is for me. If I had to guess, I think it was a 6 maybe. 6 is usually what I take on that hole. We don't record all my shots because I'm in the woods a lot. We had a nice little polite off here. BJ's lining up his putt and then just looks at Dylan. Dylan actually takes the initiative, which is cool. That's a good. Oh, that's a good angle right there. You can see BJ's putter upside down. Hole 12, just a nice dog leg left. Dylan's ripping on a Buzz OS again. Believe that's that Vandal from BJ again. And I'm throwing my 2020 Firebird. You want to kind of get a skip. Laying right about where I just did right there and get a big old skip down towards the basket. There's a, right there on the left, there's that bush. That's if you watch any of my previous videos, it's Mike Lambert's nemesis, that bush right there. He's usually in it. Dylan for a good little circle's edge putt here. Great bid right there. It's a great 2 to get. It's one that you think you should get, but it's getting everything's getting kind of overgrown right now, and it's the line to get there is getting a lot skinnier. I connect with a good 2. BJ dropped in a 3. Dylan's throwing a wraith up here on hole 13. This one kind of zigzags up towards the green, kind of goes to the left and then bends kind of straight to the right. BJ's lining up the Vandal again. I think that's one of the, I know he backhands a Vandal and a Destiny. I believe those are the only ones that he backhands. Here I am with my PD again, Lone Howl PD. Throw it straight into the ground. Great shot.
Get through the solid ground.
So you can see way up there in the opening, way up at the top on the right, that's where the basket is. So I'm just trying to get myself in a good position to get up and down and get a par, and I throw exactly how I want to. So BJ said this is going to be epic or something like that, I remember. And, I mean, I get it. He's trying to get it to flash on its face right there and skip out into the open. I love the idea of it. The execution was, not so much. Dylan stretching out, doing his yoga, getting a nice flick up there for a 3 with his triple X again. Triple X is latitudes. I believe it's latitude. Latitude 64 is really overstable fairway driver. And BJ threw a great line on that, and you couldn't really see it, but his disc was right there on the left by that orange flag. He hit that tiny little dead stump. There was nothing, it's the size of a disc basically, and he hit it, and it stopped him from being up at the green. So now he's got this for a par. And he tried to dance it in there with all his body language. I mean, I think it helps. Body language definitely helps. And Dylan for a 3 here. Taking his time, lining it up. Boom, count it. So at this point, Dylan's got a pretty good round going. And he just had one early release right there, and it's OB left for over there on the left of the field. Pretty much if you hit any of those branches, you can pretty much count on it being OB. And unfortunately, he did go OB. BJ's throwing a Destiny here, and he unfortunately ends up sliding OB as well. And BJ and I had a nice little friendly wager on this one, so I was licking my chops here. I know this is a pretty decent birdie hole.
My God, someone knows how to throw it.
So I was able to, hopefully try and get a 2-stroke swing on him here. And I threw a pretty ideal drive. BJ's just he threw a forehand roller now, and it's a great line, and just barely nicks that tree, and it completely ruins it. It's kind of a little out of position being up there. You want to kind of throw more of a straight shot at it, kind of right where I'm at right here. I believe that was Dylan's Firebird. Throwing my Razor Claw here and asking for it to go boing, and it goes boing. Leaves me parked right underneath the basket. BJ's throwing that Bounty again. I don't know anything about that disc. It's brand new. I don't really pay too much attention to the new releases from Trilogy. Dylan off by just a little bit. So I ended up, Dylan was absolutely crushing us. I don't ever try and compete with Dylan. It's nice to keep up with him every now and then, but I ended up picking up 2 strokes on both of them. And I'm throwing my 3-line once again, just getting it out there. This hole plays really far for, it's only like 360, I think, or something like that, 365. And it plays way further than that. That was all I had right there. Dylan's throwing a flippy 4-time Macbeth Destroyer right there. BJ's ripping on his Vandal again.
I'll let you throw it on the next hole, dude.
Okay, that felt really good.
This is a great throw by him. I play with BJ quite often, and
My distance is
I mean, just as soon as he released that, he got good snap on it, great follow through and everything. It was a really good throw. He's been asking for a few tips every now and then on his backhand. Look how beautiful this place is, man. If you haven't played out here, you definitely need to get out here before it closes. I believe they're going to start moving ground in December. Rumor has it that the course doesn't have to leave until March, but let's just play it like it's December. So you guys need to get out here, come play. Great putt by Dylan. Dude's on fire. He can't miss right now. Oh, except for the last hole. We ain't counting that, though. Here's my putt for a 2. Count it. Hole 16. Nothing in your way. Basket's right there. Just go ahead and throw it. And I threw my PD here. Didn't really commit to it. Hyzered out a little early there. Dylan's throwing his Wraith again. A little left on him there. See if we got any looks. I honestly don't remember. I recorded this like a week ago, so some of this stuff is new to me. This, I believe, is the Destiny from BJ. Yeah, look at that upside down frisbee. I actually put a pretty good bid on it. Yeah, there's Dylan and I just a little bit left here of the basket. Probably about 45 feet away here. Connected with it. Dropping bombs right now.
yeah. Oh,
Dylan left his just a tiny bit low. Tap in his par there. So this hole gives me trouble. Hole 17 here. This is a nice tight window here. I throw my rat. I used to throw fairway driver off of it, but throw it hard, you're gonna kick pretty hard. So I just like to throw a putter disc down and just trying to hit the gap. I feel really comfortable with the rat. Dylan threw a Firebird there. BJ's throwing a Gladiator. This is the first time I saw him throw that disc, and he just throws it through every single tree somehow. This is Dylan's drive. Dylan got way down here. I think we missed my up shot. I just pitched up, I believe. Right at circle's edge, just a little bit on the inside. BJ's telling himself how to putt it, which is good. He made it. It was a great shot. So coming into this hole, I had a 1-stroke lead on BJ. Ended up fighting back. Had a nice little string of birdies there. He throws a 4-hand roller, and it was pretty short. I don't know why he threw a 4-hand roller. Should have just thrown his Vandal again like he did on hole 15. Dylan throwing his Wraith. I'm throwing my Beefcake, my Halo Destroyer. I think it's just wickedly overstable. I powered into that just about as hard as I could. I believe this is the Defender again, or the Gladiator. I couldn't really remember. Pretty hard to get to the basket from up there. Dylan's throwing a 4-time Buzz. Hung it out just a little bit wide. Shoots it down into the junk. So the red pad is right there. I'm starting my run up on the red pads. This is pretty ideal drive. It's right, just about right where I want to be. Throwing my Iron Samurai MD3. And I threw it straight into the woods.
Middle basket.
Dylan called he's going to do something about throwing the Frisbee in the metal basket. Puts a good bid and skips it right off the top. That would have been a disgusting throw in. BJ pitching up.